Alright, welcome to another video, and before we get started, I'd like to take a quick minute to thank all the Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members whose names you see scrolling across the screen right now. They make this financially possible, and without you, I probably wouldn't be here making videos, so thank you. Alright, so we're going to take another quick flight. We're flying the Eagle again with Walksnail or Duplane, as has been the case in the last number of videos recently. Starting to seem a little bit repetitive, but it's kind of what I want to do right now, so that's what I'm focusing on. But we're going to start maybe thinking about our kind of next direction, where we go next, as far as projects and things like that. Just kind of looking to change it up a little bit. Any suggestions, leave it below. Maybe a different airplane. We might put Walksnail in something else, or I don't know. But anyway, getting back to this video. As you can see, it's pretty late in the day, and like I said, we're flying the Eagle with Walksnail. Same settings and everything as before. I haven't really changed anything. It was just a little last minute decision to sneak in a quick flight. I would say before sunset, but we actually took off after sunset. Before dark though. And I don't know, we'll see how it goes. So skipping ahead a bit, you can see we've lost some altitude here. We're flying a little bit lower now, just kind of out over this area in the fields. I tend to like to fly out here and look for deer late in the evening like this. Now there's actually one here. You can kind of see him right down there running back towards the woods right now. But I didn't actually spot him while I was flying. I was kind of paying more attention toward the center of the screen, looking along the edge of the woods there. But there was one out there, but we kind of missed him, but obviously we saw him later. So now we're going to gain a little bit of altitude and keep heading south out here over the woods towards town, and probably skip ahead again just a bit. Right now you can see now we're kind of coming up on town. We're going to make a turn out towards the east, southeast, and fly along the levee and the bayou there like we usually do. And we'll just kind of look into town and get a good look at the sunset in the background, and the street lights and everything. Obviously they're on. Now I say the sunset in the background, but that's actually looking more south, and obviously the sun doesn't set in the south, but it's more heavily overcast and everything towards the actual sunset, so we just kind of seeing a little bit of kind of light bleeding around that way from the south, where it's a little bit more clear skies. But this was well after sunset, and like I said, obviously you can see all the lights, and the radio tower there in town is switched over to its red slow strobing light. Not necessarily strobing, but you see what I'm talking about. But anyway, the only other thing to really talk about is obviously we're using the files from the VRX, and we've overlaid the OSD later after the flight. This is not the recording from the HDMI out like I usually do, or have been doing anyway. I decided to go ahead and use these just to play around with the OSD a little bit. Obviously you can see we've kind of colorized it. We've made it, kind of gave it a yellow tint, kind of paying homage to the Vector OSD. I kind of like that, the way it looks. But the main reason for choosing to go that route for this particular flight, in the low light like this, you can see the camera is kind of struggling a little bit. It's a little bit grainy and noisy compared to flying in the midday in the sunlight. But I found that my recording on the computer actually showed a bit more of that grain and compression artifacts and things than the files directly off of the VRX. So the VRX, the quality of the files you get recorded on the SD card in the video receiver are a little bit higher quality than what I'm recording on the computer. Now I don't know if that's because it's sent through the HDMI transmitter, or when I say transmitter, the chipset in the video receiver, it's converting that output to HDMI and then sending that into my HDMI recorder on the computer, and it's getting compressed again. Then I edit it and I compress it again, and YouTube's going to compress it once they upload it, but it takes out some of that out of the equation. We're just coming straight out of the VRX where it encodes it on the SD card there, then I edit it and encode it, then YouTube gets all to it. Now obviously while I'm editing this and seeing it right now, I don't know what it's going to look like after it's on YouTube, but typically they do a fairly decent job of retaining image quality if you send them a high enough bitrate. So Get one more quick look at the bridges under the wingtip there, with the nice color in the sky in the background and the lights in town there. Now I should point out that I have edited the video a little bit. It was a little bit more brighter and washed out than what you're seeing right now. I've kind of darkened it a little bit just to get it to look a little bit more realistic. And I've bumped the color saturation up a little as well, just to give it a little bit more cinematic view anyway. So it looks a little bit nicer. But it was actually quite a bit brighter than this while I was flying. It didn't nearly look as dark as it actually was. It was definitely flyable. You can see when we look out in this direction, toward the darker horizon there, it's kind of starting to struggle a little bit. You can kind of notice the noise in the trees and things like that. Pretty grainy. So it's kind of showing the limits of what the camera can do, but it's kind of to be expected as well. I'm definitely happy with it. It's performing better than I thought it would, if I'm being totally honest. And definitely not going to complain about that. So I'm going to go ahead and skip the ride home, and we'll put the landing up at the end, and I guess call it quits there. Alright, so we're getting back home now, and we're setting up for our landing. And like I said, any suggestions on kind of what direction we should head next, and maybe start another project or get back to something else we were doing before, or I don't know, just looking for something to shake it up a little bit, make it interesting and fun again. I'm starting to get a little bit bored flying the same little airplane setup over and over, and there's not really a lot left to work on until we get some new firmware from Walksnail. So until then, let me know what you want to see next, and we'll see if we can get to it. So that's the end of this flight, and we'll see you all in the next one.